Black woman abandoned by her husband was left alone to raise her two boys. They became a miracle. In California, where dreams rise and fall like the tide, one woman's heartbreak would soon become a legend. This is the story of Tasha Miller, a young black woman who believed love could conquer everything, until the man she built her life with shattered that belief in a single night. Left with two baby boys and a promise, she whispered through tears, "I'll never fail you." She faced the world alone. While her husband chased fame and fortune, Tasha fought through sleepless nights, eviction notices, and empty refrigerators. But from her pain, something extraordinary began to grow. The very boys she once rocked to sleep would one day change the world. What she didn't know that night, standing in that tiny apartment with rain on her skin, was that her greatest heartbreak would become her greatest miracle. Because sometimes God doesn't remove the storm. He teaches you how to stand in it. But before the miracle came the breaking. Now, let's go back to where it all began. The night he told her she wasn't in his class anymore. "You're not in my class anymore," he said, suitcase in hand, his voice colder than the California rain tapping on the window. Tasha stood barefoot in the living room, her newborn pressed against her chest, the faint smell of baby lotion still in the air. She could barely breathe. The man she once built dreams with, the man who had promised forever, now stared at her like a stranger. "Michael, we built this together," she whispered, voice trembling. "I stood by you when no one believed. I washed your shirts, edited your proposals, prayed for your first client. How can you say this?" He smirked, adjusting his cufflinks. "You're good at memories, Tasha, but I've outgrown them, and you. I've worked too hard to end up trapped in a small life. I have new opportunities, new people. You'll be fine." Her knees weakened as the door slammed behind him. The sound echoed louder than thunder. For a long second, she didn't cry. She just stood there, rocking the baby gently, staring at the suitcase he didn't take, the one she packed years ago when they moved into that apartment, believing love could weather anything. Then, quietly, she whispered to her sons, "I'll never fail you." The lights flickered. Outside, the rain poured harder, as if the heavens themselves were weeping. The days after Michael's departure blurred into one long ache. The apartment felt emptier than ever. Just a crib, a stack of unpaid bills, and the faint hum of the refrigerator she prayed wouldn't stop working. Tasha would sit by the window at night, rocking her babies, staring out at the city lights. She could almost see the life she'd lost reflected in every glowing window. Couples laughing, families gathered, love that didn't leave. During the day, she pushed her double stroller down cracked Los Angeles sidewalks, hunting for work. "We're not hiring," became the most repeated sentence she heard. When she finally got a job cleaning offices downtown, it barely covered rent. Still, every night, she cooked what she could, rice, eggs, and sometimes just toast, whispering to her boys, "Mommy's gonna make it, baby. Just give me time." When she finally lay down, exhaustion would press her chest like a weight, but she refused to cry loud enough for them to hear. Her tears came silently, soft, hidden, proud. She knew the world wouldn't pity her. So she built armor out of faith and love, one quiet tear at a time. But that armor would soon be tested. Tasha woke before sunrise every morning, slipping quietly out of bed so her babies wouldn't stir. The smell of coffee filled the tiny apartment as she packed lunches, folded clothes, and kissed their foreheads before leaving for her first job. By 7 a.m., she was on a bus headed to Beverly Hills, a world that sparkled with everything she'd once dreamed of. Polished marble driveways, shiny cars, women who looked like they'd never washed a dish in their lives. Tasha became the help, a nanny to children who cried when their iPads died, a housekeeper to mothers who barely said thank you. Yet, she smiled through it all. Every paycheck, every calloused hand, every aching night, it was for her boys. One afternoon, her employer's husband walked in and said, "You're too smart to be cleaning floors." She only smiled. "Smart don't pay rent, sir." When she returned home, her sons ran to her, giggling, wrapping their arms around her tired legs. And just like that, the weight of the world melted for a moment. In their laughter, she found strength. But one evening, when she came home to a notice on her door, her heart dropped. The rent was overdue. The winter wind cut through Los Angeles like glass that year. The heater in Tasha's apartment had long stopped working, and she wrapped her boys in layers of blankets before heading to her night shift. The eviction notice still clung to the door, mocking her every time she passed it. She'd begged the landlord for one more week. "Please, Mr. Dawson, I just need until Friday. My paycheck comes in then." He shrugged. "You seem like a nice lady, Tasha, but nice doesn't pay bills." That night, she worked 2 houses instead of 1. Her knees ached, her hands cracked from bleach, but she refused to stop. When she returned home near midnight, her sons were still awake, waiting. The older one, barely 6, held out a crayon drawing, a stick figure of her holding 2 boys. "You're the strongest mommy in the world," it said. She hugged them so tightly that her tears soaked their hair. "Someday," she whispered, "this struggle will mean something." Outside, sirens echoed and the cold deepened, but inside that small apartment, faith flickered, fragile but alive. She didn't know it yet, but help was coming from the most unexpected place. It was a Tuesday morning when Tasha's life quietly shifted. She was cleaning the porch of a large Pasadena home, scrubbing steps until her fingers went numb. The homeowner, a soft-spoken older woman named Mrs. Lawson, had been watching from the window. "Do you ever rest?" Mrs. Lawson asked gently, stepping outside. Tasha forced a smile. "Rest don't pay rent, ma'am." Mrs. Lawson studied her for a moment, eyes kind. "You remind me of myself, years ago. A woman who refused to give up." She disappeared inside, returning with a brown envelope. "Take this. No questions." Tasha hesitated. "I can't." "You can," the woman insisted. "It's not charity. It's a seed. One day, you'll plant it in someone else." Inside the envelope was $1,000, enough to keep her home and buy her boys new clothes. That night, for the first time in months, she cooked a full meal. Laughter filled the apartment again. She tucked the envelope away, whispering a quiet prayer of gratitude. The next morning, she taped her son's drawings on the wall above her bed, reminders of why she kept fighting. Because love, she was learning, could survive anything, even betrayal. But fate wasn't done testing her yet. By the time her sons were in middle school, Tasha had turned struggle into rhythm. Mornings with oatmeal and prayer, evenings filled with homework and hope. Life was far from easy, but inside that tiny apartment, love had a heartbeat. Every morning, before they left for school, she'd look them in the eye. "Remember, gentlemen," she'd say, "we don't complain. We conquer." Her oldest, Jordan, loved science. He'd spend hours taking apart radios just to see how they worked. Malik, the younger one, could code circles around adults before he turned 12. Tasha watched them in awe, their potential unfolding like sunrise after a long night. When Jordan came home once with tears in his eyes, a teacher had called him just another kid from the projects. She knelt beside him. "Baby," she said softly, "never let anyone tell you who you can't be. You hear me?" He nodded, wiping his face. Malik added quietly, "We'll make you proud, Mom." She smiled through the ache in her chest. "You already have." That night, as she lay awake, she whispered to God, "If my pain builds their wings, then let me carry it all." And he heard her. Change was coming. The auditorium was packed, cameras flashing beneath the California sun. Tasha sat in the second row, hands trembling as the dean's voice echoed through the microphone. Dr. Jordan Miller. Her son walked across the stage, tall, confident, dressed in a spotless white coat that shimmered like redemption itself. The crowd clapped, but all Tasha could hear was the sound of her own heartbeat. Her baby, the boy she once rocked in a broken crib, was now a doctor, a man saving lives. When Jordan took the microphone, his voice cracked. "This is for my mother," he said, searching for her face. "The woman who gave up her dreams so I could have mine. Every night she came home exhausted, but she still found a way to make us laugh. I am her story, in a white coat." The audience rose to their feet. Tasha covered her mouth, tears flowing freely. Malik held her hand, whispering, "We did it, Mom." As Jordan placed his graduation cap in her lap, she thought of that night years ago, the rain, the empty room, the promise she whispered through tears. "I'll never fail you, my sons." And she never did. Malik had always seen the world differently. While other kids played games, he built them. By 23, he'd already turned a small coding hobby into a fast-growing startup in San Jose. But it wasn't until a major tech investor offered him a deal worth millions that the world began to notice. Reporters called him the Silicon Valley prodigy. Magazines wanted interviews. The same neighborhoods that once pitted Tasha now praised her name. She visited his sleek office one Friday. Glass walls, glowing screens, a skyline view of California's gold-lit horizon. Malik greeted her in jeans and a hoodie, still her boy beneath all the success. "You see this, Mom?" he said, smiling proudly. "Every server, every employee, every code line. You built this. Through us." She touched his cheek. "No, baby. You built this. I just made sure you never forgot who you were." When Forbes published Malik's story, from single mother's son to tech billionaire before 30, Jordan called that night. "Mom, he made the cover." Tasha laughed, tears in her eyes. "You both did." But just when peace finally found her, an unexpected knock on the door brought the past crashing back. Her husband had returned. The knock came just after sunset. Tasha was setting the table for Sunday dinner. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, Malik's favorite. When she opened the door, her breath caught. Michael stood there, the same man who had once walked away without looking back. But time had not been kind. His tailored suits were gone, replaced with worn jeans and hollow eyes. "Tasha," he whispered, voice trembling. "You look different." "I should," she said calmly. "It's been 20 years. He looked past her into the warm, glowing house, family photos, laughter echoing from the dining room, a life that had thrived without him. "I lost everything," he said, his tone almost childlike. "The woman I left you for took it all. The money, the house, everything. I thought maybe." "Maybe what, Michael?" "Maybe we could start over." At that moment, Jordan walked in wearing his hospital scrubs, followed by Malik in a designer jacket. Both stopped cold. "Dad," Malik's voice was flat. Michael's eyes filled with tears. "I just want my family back." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Jordan spoke, his voice low and steady. "We already have a family, sir." And standing behind them, Tasha said softly, "And we already have a hero." Months later, the ballroom at the Los Angeles Grand Hotel glowed beneath soft lights. A red carpet stretched across the floor, cameras flashing, reporters calling names. It wasn't a movie premiere, it was a charity gala honoring one woman, Tasha Miller. She stood on stage in a simple emerald gown, grace radiating from her like sunlight. On one side stood Dr. Jordan Miller, now heading a medical foundation for low-income families. On the other, Malik, whose tech company had funded scholarships for thousands of underprivileged students. When the host handed her the microphone, the room went silent. "I used to think success was about money," she began softly. "Then life taught me. It's about endurance, faith, and love that doesn't quit." She glanced at her sons, pride shimmering in her eyes. "Everything you see here tonight was built from tears I refused to waste." The audience rose to their feet. Cameras flashed as her sons embraced her tightly. In the back of the room, Michael watched quietly, head bowed, tears tracing down his face. For the first time, he understood. The fortune he abandoned wasn't gold, it was her. Tasha smiled through her tears. She wasn't just their mother anymore. She was their legacy. And that is how a woman the world counted out became the foundation of an empire. From heartbreak to honor, from sleepless nights to standing ovations, Tasha Miller's journey wasn't about luck. It was about faith, love, and the kind of strength only a mother can carry. She was left with nothing but 2 baby boys and a promise. "I'll never fail you." And she didn't. Her pain built doctors. Her tears built billionaires. Her sacrifice built a legacy the world would never forget. And when the man who left her came crawling back, the same world that once looked down on her now stood in applause. Because she proved that the strongest women don't wait to be saved. They build their own rescue. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment below and type next to see what happens in the next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story that reminds us what real love, faith, and resilience look like. Because every mother like Tasha deserves to be remembered, not for what she lost, but for what she built.